So there's some drones flying over U.S. military bases in the UK. This is crazy, right? Everyone's talking about it, as you can see on the news here. Drones, drones, drones. Well, the Department of Defense has released a statement as well. Well, I guess really not a statement, but they addressed it in a press conference quite extensively, to be honest with you. So I've got that clip. But first, we're going to hear from Ross Coulthart, who has been tweeting out about this as well. And let's hear from him and see what he has to say.
And there are more questions than answers into mysterious drones spotted over U.S. military bases in England over the past several days. The U.S. Air Force says the drones have not impacted the bases or their residents, but it hasn't ruled out if they were sent by agitators. Let's get right to our News Nation special correspondent, Ross Coulthart. Ross, anytime we hear about something flying in a restricted space, it causes concern. Several drones spotted over 3 different military bases over several days. You posted on social media about those sightings. What can you tell us about what you've learned?
Well, Nick, the interesting thing about this whole saga is how little the Air Force has been able to tell us about what they're seeing, because there have been at least 5 nights, possibly 6 nights, of unexplained incursions by what the Air Force describes as drones over 3 of the most sensitive US bases, or British bases where the US Air Force is based in the United Kingdom. That's Mildenhall, Lakenheath and Feltwell. And what distinguishes all of those bases is that it's very likely all of them have nuclear weapons. So this is a very grave situation. Unexplained incursions by unexplained drones, multiple drones, dozens in some cases, and there has not been any attempt, as far as I can see, to successfully bring down one of these objects so that we can be told what they are and where they come from. And when the Pentagon was asked about this, Major General Pat Ryder, the Pentagon's press spokesman, he basically said that all he could tell us is that they are being actively monitored. He couldn't answer a question as to whether they were from a foreign adversary, and he couldn't answer the question as to whether or not they were of hostile intent.
Ross, now the U.S. Air Force did confirm that the sightings were unmanned aerial systems or drones. Do you believe that they are drones?
We've got to be skeptical about this because we've seen no evidence of this to date, Nick. And as you would know on our show Reality Check, for some time we've been reporting on similar sightings of so-called drones over places like Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, the Plant 42 at Palmdale in California, and also the Picatinny Arsenal in New Jersey. That happened in, I think, 18th of November, just before these latest incidents. Now we've got these incidents over the 3 Air Force bases in the United Kingdom. And in none of these cases have any of these devices, these alleged drones, been recovered. So I think we're entitled to be skeptical, and the public's allowed to ask questions. Why can't the Pentagon answer a very basic question? Why do they say these are drones, and where are they coming from? And can we be assured that they are not a threat?
And speaking on the not a threat, so far, Ross, help me here, none of them have appeared to be hostile, but that still doesn't necessarily give everyone great comfort.
Well, we deployed, if you remember, Nick, in February last year, we deployed F-22 fighters to shoot down what we were told were balloons flying over the continental USA. It's a very interesting situation that we know that fighter jets have been scrambled from some of these bases in the United Kingdom. They've been flying without transponders, so we haven't been able to track them to see where they're going and where they're maneuvering. But there has been an air tanker refueling them, and they've been operating on afterburners. So it's quite clear that the military is taking this extremely seriously, and the British government has also brought in military assistance of its own to help the US Air Force deal with finding out any more that we can about these objects. At the moment, I think all we can legitimately say is they're objects and they're unexplained.
And Ross, this isn't the first time, because I do want to touch on this before I let you go. We had drones flying over Langley back in 2023, and we never determined exactly what was happening. Do you believe that these drones could be from foreign adversaries?
They could potentially be from foreign adversaries, but as you would know, we were the first to report on News Nation those Langley drones, so-called, and we have queried and questioned the reasons why they use drone terminology. I think at best what they are unexplained aerial vehicles of some kind. That's the best we can put it. And I think the public are entitled to expect an explanation.
And I know that, Ross, you'll keep pushing for an explanation as well. Ross Coulthard, thank you so much, sir.
So this is kind of a serious issue, right? I mean, pretty serious. In fact, we have things flying around. We're not really sure what they are, right? And we're kind of determining if they're hostile or not, or, what's going on, right? So let's hear from the Department of Defense and see what they have to say. But stay tuned for after that, because I've got a couple of things that I think maybe some missightings as well. So we'll get to that in a moment. But first, let's hear from the Department of Defense and see what they have to say. They always tell the truth.
But the bottom line is, again, still assessing what these are, and, just don't have anything further to pass along. I'd refer you to U.S. Air Forces in Europe, which I'm sure you're in contact with, just to keep in touch on the latest on that.
And can you share anything yet about how you guys are detecting or countering them?
Again, I don't want to get into the specifics in terms of tactics, techniques, and procedures as it relates to force protection. Certainly, we have a variety of means at our disposal, and we will protect our personnel and our facilities. But, again, just to kind of put this into context, even here in the United States, right, if there are drones that are being flown by hobbyists or some other entity, you want to make sure that you're doing due diligence not only to protect yourself and the safety of others, but also using appropriate measures in order to not inadvertently create second and third order effects. In other words, potentially harming the civilian communities in which we operate in and around. So again, right now the assessment is that these drones have had no operational impact or safety impact on our personnel at any of these facilities. We're keeping a close eye on them. We're, of course, communicating very regularly with the UK host nation authorities, and we'll take appropriate measures, again, to protect our personnel and our people. Sure.
Just a quick follow-up. Have there been any drone incidents domestically since October?
That's a hard question to answer, Jen, because, the reality is on any given day, Pat Ryder, hobbyist drone pilot, can fly my drone next to a base and it's in and it's out. And is that a drone incident, or are we talking about something, more serious, where like the Langley incident, where there's multiple drones operating over a facility for multiple days? So, again, I don't have any statistics in front of me, but just the reality is that these small aircraft are now ubiquitous across the United States and the world. I have a very close relative of mine who's a drone pilot, and he flies his drone all over and does amateur photography. And what if that drone gets blown or carried by the wind too close to a facility, or they don't understand the FAA rules, et cetera, et cetera. So this is something that the department, the FAA, and others are looking at in this modern era of small aircraft. How do we make sure that we're responsibly protecting our assets while at the same time not assuming every single aircraft is going to be a threat? So thank you, Charlie.
Welcome back. I hate to go on about it too. However,
please do drone on.
I have to drone on. This is the third time in 2 weeks. They appear to be coordinated, persistent operations, not the work of a hobbyist. There are reports out of Britain that 60 military personnel have been deployed, 60 British personnel have been deployed. Does this come down to the MOD? Is it down to the Home Office? There are other ways of taking down drones without shooting them down.
Yeah, and you're right. And again, I won't speak for the MOD. And as I highlighted, of course, the U.S. Military are guests in England, in the United Kingdom, at the invitation of the government of the United Kingdom. So certainly working very closely with the authorities there. We are taking it seriously. We're monitoring, taking appropriate measures. Again, I'm not going to get into the specific TTPs in terms of when and if we feel that we need to take something down. At this point, the assessment is that these do not pose any type of, effect on our operations or safety of our personnel. So I don't have an answer. I'd have to refer you to USAFE, but I mean, it's not uncommon if we have, small teams that go around the world that are specialists in various capabilities. So I don't have an answer to that question. But I mean, you've got RAF Mildenhall, RAF Lakenheath, RAF Feltwell. All those bases are in close proximity. Literally minutes away from each other. So, again, we'll continue to keep an eye on it. But as of right now, I would just, caution jumping to conclusions about what this is and who's doing it. And we'll just, continue to keep you updated.
I have an unrelated question. There are reports that the Houthis,
So there's a lot to talk about there, right? So clearly these could be just hobbyists with their drones. This could be Russian, Chinese, other foreign adversaries coming in to, gather intelligence, whatever, right? They could also be UFOs, right? Extraterrestrial craft. I don't know, reverse engineered craft. That's what some people are speculating. I don't know. There's not enough evidence, to be honest with you, of really anything. So we're kind of left with they are UFOs in the sense that they're unidentified flying objects flying around, right? Or UAP as they're known. Now, one thing that I found quite interesting was one particular clip, okay, from a person who's live streaming near these airports, near these bases out there, right? And watching these F-22s and fighter jets and all this stuff. And this person in the UK is live streaming. And I'll put their YouTube channel up on the screen right here. You can see them. There's one particular little clip in their live stream where you can hear kind of the base operator or whoever it is talking about UAP. And I found that to be quite interesting because of the language they're using to describe what's flying around.
Yeah, we've got multiple reports of UAVs taking off in the field to the north and south.
So as you can see, that's kind of interesting, right? I will admit, this is all very interesting. Now, few of these are being miscited, as I'll state, right? That's the term I'll use, right? Because one video got released, right, about these drone swarms, and take a look at it. Did you notice anything about it? Looks kind of spectacular at first sight, right? But those are Starlink satellites and quite easily determined to be Starlink satellites. Here's some footage of actual Starlink satellites so you can see the almost identical similarities. And honestly, when you see someone like Giorgio, right? I can't really pronounce his name, but this dude from Ancient Aliens, right? When he's tweeting out that these are Starlink satellites, I think it's safe to say, right? If even he is doing it, right? So look, not everything we're seeing, not every video, not every photo coming out is, right, an extraterrestrial craft. I think it's best that we brush away some of the BS photos and videos so we can focus on the real drones, right? And or UAP as they're calling them, right? So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. This is kind of a big story in the sense that, unmanned vehicles or manned vehicles, right? UAP are flying around over these bases quite significantly, many times. Definitely something we need to address. It's definitely something we need to take very seriously. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. We'll see you guys on tomorrow's video, where I've got a 2-part series coming out for Thanksgiving and on Black Friday, part 1 and 2 of my interview with Chris Ramsey, who runs the Area 52 YouTube channel. So look for that coming out. That's going to be really, really exciting. So I've got a special treat for Thanksgiving for y'all. All right, y'all. See you tomorrow. Remember, every day's a gift. Peace.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.